Look at this, dude. Nova coffee, everyone.
Sweet.
Sweet nectar. Hear that, everyone? You don't get that at Starbucks. All right. What's up, Guapo?
Travis, my friend, what's up, brother?
Chillin'. Tyler, thank you for being here.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Friend and rad business dude.
Dude, he is. Why is insurance so important?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you firsthand because we almost didn't close a deal because of it. It's hard to
Dude,
get.
I just had one this week that we had to postpone 2 weeks just trying to get insurance.
Yeah, well, Tyler saved our bacon.
He's a bacon saver.
He's a bacon saver.
We try.
It's a weird nickname, but take it. So how did you get started in insurance?
It was kind of an odd one. I started working at my grandfather's agency when I was like 14, just kind of learning books and doing stuff not insurance related. I was getting ready to go to school, go to law school. And he had a heart attack when I turned 18. And they asked me to just kind of stay on and run it and see if I can hang on. So I ran it for 10 years and then me and my parents bought it.
Wow.
Kind of moved on.
Dang. It was always here on the Central Coast, yeah?
Yeah, it's been around since 80s.
After the 9th year or 10th year, did they start paying you? Or yeah, pretty much. Hey, we're not going to just give you food. We're going to give you money also.
Yeah.
The 14, I was living it. I was stoked. But yeah, it was definitely not something that if you'd have told me career path insurance,
yeah,
I would have said, yeah, that's
At what point, though, did you know that you weren't going to do the law school path and you were going to do this full time? Was it when you guys bought it?
No, it was probably about 2 years after I started taking it over. And I focus really heavily on commercial. And so commercial is very involved. And it's something that I like. It's very interesting to me and trying to help these companies grow, and they need certain aspects of insurance to grow. And so it's kind of, I fell in love with it at that point. And so probably about 20 years old, I was ready to roll.
Dang.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we'll probably cover mostly like the residential side because
a
it's
little commercial.
A little bit of commercial?
Yeah. Let's do a little bit of commercial.
Okay. Well, we hit on why insurance is so important because, I mean, if you're financing the home, the lender's going to require it. And I know that in the last 3 years especially, but you'd know more. I think the thing that was always an issue over the last couple of years was fire insurance, seemingly. But how long has that been? I mean, has it just always been a thing? It seems like it's getting progressively harder to find and insure. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Last 4 years, really, when all of the wildfires started a little bit more heavily, they started taking some losses that they were not prepared for. And so the carriers started to restrict a little bit. They wanted a little help. They weren't getting it. And so they just started cutting off. They started going a lot broader than they probably should. The stuff that we're seeing right now, it's just strange. They have their mappings and they're sticking to it. And so it's definitely,
the maps are like detrimental. If you're in one of those maps, even if you've cleared your property, your neighbors' properties are all cleared, like it doesn't matter.
No, and it used to. I mean, they used to underwrite everything. And so you could go talk to the underwriter and say, look, they just did a whole bunch of work. They cleared everything. They have a metal roof. They have everything that they need to secure coverage. And they would work with them. It might be a little bit inflated on the rate, but now the carriers are absolutely not. We're just not doing it.
So fire insurance has become a huge challenge.
Well, and then we get the natural hazard disclosures, right, which puts people into, is the property in a high fires or high flood or whatever. Is that the same kind of data that insurers are looking at, or they have a totally different map that then?
Totally different. It's per carrier. So there are some new tech companies that are coming out that are insuring that you've seen that have jumped into the game, and they have their own proprietary and they can go off whatever they want. And so it's really just what they
It's like a risk assessment.
Exactly.
Right? So it's interesting. We just closed this place I was talking about. It was on North Well, it still is on North 3rd. It's on North 3rd.
There was a fire?
We moved it. No, it's still there. No, North 3rd in Grover, like in a neighborhood.
Yep.
And the buyer wanted to use the insurance company that she has everything else insured with, which is fine. And so they said no because they said that the marshy land off of 4th Street was a fire hazard. And I was like, they're clearly not local, right? They're just looking at some map and they've designated that as, I mean, it just doesn't
you
make
hear
any,
about all these marshes just
lighting on fire, man. Just filled them with gas and lit a match. It's so weird. And then the roof thing, which I want to talk to you about in a little bit. That was like when you told me about. Well, I heard it from them. They wouldn't insure basically because the age of the roof. Like, what the heck? And then you told me that's coming down the pipes. I want to get into that a little bit later. But fire insurance, hard to get. You guys, didn't your property? You guys,
Dude,
you got jacked.
Dude, yeah, let's just
You wanna
air all my stuff. No, but
want to talk about it.
No, it sucked. It
Too
was like
soon?
I think we were at like $1,300, $1,400 a year to get us a letter around Christmas time saying, "Hey, we're not going to renew you next year." We're like, "What? Can they just not renew us?" And they're like, "Sure enough, they can." And our property is like cleared. We have no brush. It's like it's very safe property in my opinion. My neighbors are cleared. Like we've all spent a lot of money and time like making sure our properties are fire hardened. And we also have like no wood soffits, which is like the things that hang over the side of the house. They're all stucco. Like every kind of like security type of thing you could take is taken. And they dropped us. I'm like begging them not to. So we had to go we went to California Fair. And then we ended up finding one company that was like $500 cheaper, but our plan went up to like $5,000 a year.
Dang.
And that's a lot. I mean,
It is.
That's like, man, that sucks.
California in general for over a period of time though has been probably the cheapest homeowners insurance in the United States.
Really?
It
Wow.
was very low. I mean, the $800 premiums, the $1,200 premiums are unheard of
Really?
everywhere else.
I did not know that.
And so it's their goal. I think the insurance carriers' goals right now are trying to get to the more of the Texas, the more of the Florida. I mean, the standard rates for a normal home are probably going to be inching close to the 2,000 to 3,000 range coming here.
Wow.
Pretty soon.
Dang. Okay, so fire has been a thing we knew about. I wasn't expecting.
Roof?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't expecting that whole fire swamp situation. That was a shock to me, but I kind of wrote it off as an anomaly. And then the roof thing happened. I'm like, wait, what the heck, Tyler? Can you? And so Riley and Riley stepped in and were able to insure the home, and we closed.
Which is who Tyler works for.
Riley and Riley.
Riley and Riley.
Yeah.
That's me.
Super creative. Tyler Riley. So, okay. So the roof thing you mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, but roofs over 24 years of age?
Yeah, so it's going to be carrier specific. There's most carriers that we have though, and we have a lot. It's are saying they will not touch anything that's over 24 years old.
That's why all the roofs of the properties we sell are only 18 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
They will be requiring proof.
Yeah.
Proof? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So, okay, because that was my next question is how do they know?
Permits, they can pull permits.
Okay.
It's the easiest way for you guys. If there is an issue, go to the city. They'll have the roof permits and you can prove when it was done if you need it. Because a lot of the owners don't remember, or they think it's 10 years and it ends up being 20 or 22 or whatever it is. And honestly, that's right now. I mean, as soon as these guys get their rate where they can be profitable again, some of it might kind of come back. But the roof issue is a major issue, just in the sense of homeowners feel like it's a insurance issue. They wait for an insurance issue to have their roof replaced. It's an expensive purchase, but I mean, it's part of maintenance.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to wait for your roof to completely disintegrate until you have a heavy rain and some shingles blow off so that you can get a brand new roof, that's what they're trying to avoid now, because they used to be just paying them. And I think they're over it. It's definitely
Really? So insurance covers would pay for that?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a heavy windstorm and I mean, it's wind and rain.
So I'm kind of curious, Jeff. I've been thinking about how we help educate buyers and sellers on this moving forward. And like, say, for example, we have a listing with a home and we know the roof's 30 years old or whatever. It's like,
let's throw a roof on there.
let's throw a roof on there. I guess, because I mean, I mean, to your point, Tyler, it's going to be carrier specific. So it's not like a carte blanche. It's going to be a problem, but it could be, and it could delay, and you close of escrow. So
do some companies do stated age and some do actual permit?
Yeah, I mean they'll. It really depends on the carrier.
Yeah.
I mean, we have ones that they'll do the inspection though after, and if they find something, you're getting a 30-day notice of cancellation. Then your customer's right back where you're at. I mean, it's just going to be a
California.
So generally, I think the big question I had coming into this is what the heck is going on with homeowners insurance? And it sounds like two things. One is there was some cost that carriers incurred that they weren't prepared for, and so that freaked them out a little bit. And then just trying to get to what is like a more normalized rate across the country. Those are the big two reasons why you think?
It's the major. In 2020, insurance commissioner froze rate increases for going on 3 years. And so when they were trying to get their rate to pay for when 2x4s were 4 times, 8 times, 12 times the price, construction costs went through the roof.
Yeah.
And so same thing with vehicles. I mean, used cars, new cars, everything is skyrocketed. And so for them to replace these things, it's cost massive losses for them.
Yeah, when I heard like Allstate's not doing new auto policies in California, I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. It's
because they can't replace these old cars. Like the older cars were worth more than the freaking new cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're rated. I mean, a 2008 Prius was maybe worth $12,000. Now it's worth 19 or 20, and they're rated at 12 to get their premium enough to be able to replace that for a loss. And they're losing it over and over and over again. And I mean, I think State Farm last year lost like over $2 billion. And what people forget is they're a business. It's not a government entity. It's not anything. They're there to make money. And so when customers look at it, go, well, what's going on? They're trying to make a profit just like when we go to work and try to make a profit. I mean, it's the same thing. And so it's definitely a problem that the insurance commissioner took a little too much time on, and now we're seeing these massive rate increases because we didn't get them over 4 years. We're getting them now.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what we were chatting through before we started recording about the difference between how your guys' business and a State Farm as a broker versus.
Yeah. So we're an independent broker. State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, Geico, all of those are called captives. And so they only quote their company. And so we have other ones that we don't get to offer those, but we can offer others. So like Nationwide, Mercury, Safeco, all that kind of stuff. And then we can go beyond that for a non-preferred carrier. So these preferred carriers are the ones that are going to say no on that 25-year-old roof. We have carriers, though, that have expanded their brush zones that can have a little bit older roof. The coverage is not as great. Maybe they limit water damage, or they put ACV, actual cash value, on your roof. So it's going to be depreciated, something like that. Mm-hmm. But we have other outlets, which is why we're able to help you right now.
Yeah.
Is because everyone that's frozen, State Farm can't write a home. Farmers is kind of limited to a certain number right now. Allstate's limited right now. These other carriers are going, bring it my way.
Were you guys always a broker?
Yes.
Is that always the business model?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So what we've seen, let's switch gears to the commercial space a little bit.
Yeah.
We've seen, a lot of the panels and things that are in these older commercial buildings are, pretty dated or no longer as functional. So you're seeing insurance, covers, carriers saying, hey, we're not going to cover unless you go and replace those panels, like maybe old Zenskos or something like that, with new panels. And also they're looking at health and safety, like code violations. And they're like, hey, we want, this is not to code. So they're literally looking at the code, the California State Code, and saying, like, we want these brought up to code before we'll insure you. Because they're worried about E&O, and they're worried about, liability in these buildings that are older.
Right.
Because they were constructed with a very different code.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the pressure from the insurance agent. I didn't think that the insurance industry would be one who's pressuring us to bring things up to code.
Is it the same problem then in commercial that you're seeing in residential?
Definitely. Yeah. Commercial too, they're being a lot more restrictive in the sense of tenant, what type of tenant you have.
Right.
The liability issues, again, especially in California, with the lawsuits that are happening and the way that you can sue for whatever you want to sue for, the companies are having to just pay out on a lot of these things for tenants that they are just starting to restrict. And so
you have good tenants and bad tenants, basically is what they're saying. Like, these people are more sue happy than these people.
Yep.
Wait, types of businesses they're saying?
Yes,
like, because you
and who they serve.
Say.
Like, if it's a very outward facing client serving, I'm assuming, company, then they're probably like, oh, there's more risk with this one because this one's got a big flow of people coming in and out.
Exactly.
Where this one has less people coming in and out, so like there's less likely of someone tripping and like suing us.
Right. It's like a bar. We have trouble placing bars. There's only certain carriers that will write a bar. Well, a bar has people that drink excessively. They trip, they fall, they fight, they do all kinds of different things, and that causes massive liability. And even if the land or the owner asks the tenant to have insurance and you require umbrella and make sure that it's covered, you're still getting named. The insurance carrier still has to have an attorney show up. They still have to figure it out. And so they're taking those losses. And so they're just backing out and saying, we're done.
So at some point, it's not even worth raising the premium to whatever extent. They're just better off not doing it at all.
Right.
Interesting.
You know, one thing I found, and I know you guys are different with insurance providers, is a lot of insurance providers are afraid to actually sell and like tell someone, hey, you're underinsured.
Right.
Or look at the whole umbrella of like everything that's under that person and be like, hey, like, it's cool you got this, and this, but like you're missing your life insurance policy, or you're missing this. And like consulting someone on their whole liability and being like, you're underinsured, or like because you have a piece of it over here and a piece of it over here, you're missing out on these savings. And, you know, when we talk about selling, it's actually to serve. Like when you sell something, it's like actually adding value. And just talk about like to our clients, because we have a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are like probably underinsured, probably could use a consultation to be like, this is like something that we'd want to look at. Just talk about what that process is like, how valuable that is, and, you know, what are some areas that you see people that are underinsured in.
Definitely. Yeah. Especially over the last 4 years, we've seen a drastic change in people that are being underinsured. I mean, we're getting deck pages showing $200, $250, $300 a square foot, which in this area, you cannot build builder's grade for cheaper than $375. And that's on the very, very low end.
Yeah, for Micah, baby.
Yeah, your $450 is more comfortable for us. And so we do see that a lot. There's also, I mean, obviously everyone in insurance, if you're not in insurance, you're going on price for a lot of it. And so agents do it differently. A lot of agents will go just to get that sale or to do that. At our agency, we like to kind of use it as a teaching lesson and to show what is needed, what you should have, and then let you make your decision. Because you hear a lot of people state that, well, insurance doesn't cover anything when you have a claim anyway. Well, that's not really the case. It's you didn't have the endorsements on the policy to make that coverage for you. And so, and that could be maybe you didn't know that those coverages were available because you wanted the $800 premium versus the other one that the agent showed you at $1,150 or whatever it was. Or you just never knew or were never offered it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it does happen quite a bit. There's a lot of different coverages that are important on a home that people don't really think about. One thing that I always tell anybody that asks that question, ordinance or law coverage is very important to check on your deck page. So
wait, what does that mean?
So ordinance or law coverage is you have a covered cause of loss, okay? And let's say you have a partial kitchen fire. City comes in and says, okay, you just had a fire. You need sprinklers now. And
Oof,
you
gets way
can't
pricey.
do it in just your kitchen. You have to do it in your whole home. And so you need an engineer, you need the install, you need to bring the water from the street, you need to do all of that. That is not covered under just your dwelling A coverage.
Whoa.
That is covered under the ordinance or law coverage.
That
And
could be a huge amount of money.
Wait, they
It's
can
a
do
big
that? They
amount
can
of money.
force you to put in sprinklers?
Yeah.
They do. We just
Under
had a
residence?
partial fire that happened, and they required the whole thing. And I mean, on an older home, I mean, you're talking our area, everything's built in the 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
70s. I mean, we don't have a ton of new builds. And so when you think about all of the laws and ordinances that have changed during that time, I mean, you need different railings. You need now solar in certain areas. You need a whole bunch of different things that are not covered under just your replacement
That's
cost.
a really
And
good
so
point.
ordinance or law is definitely one that I tell people start there, see if it's on there, and make sure, because it's a cheap coverage. I mean, we're talking at 25% of the policy limits, or 50%, which is what we recommend anything pre like 1995. Probably about $8 a month,
Wow.
$9 a month.
Here I am sweating. I'm like, do I have that?
$9?
So
Or the
$9.
policy?
$9.
Shoot.
Shut up, Travis.
Sorry. How often should people review their policy? Is it like an annual thing, or do you guys preempt that with your clients? How does that work?
So we do. We kind of search we don't always shop every year, just because carrier specific, if we have them with good carriers, you want to kind of build that longevity a little bit. Now, saying that, they don't care about you. So if you've been with them for 30 years and you can find somewhere that has better coverage for the better price, for creating that value, they can drop you just as fast. They don't care that you've been there for 20 years, 30 years. I always lean on the side of the customer versus the carrier on that type of aspect. I mean, it's important for that, but at the same time, I mean, you got to do what's best for you. And having people stay because they've been with someone for 30 years, it's like, I've talked to people all the time. We're like, yeah, we're good. We've been with them for 30 years. It's like, well, have you looked at it in 30 years?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you really need to at least look at it and make sure that everything is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love what you're talking about with the clients right now. And, you know, it's such a fragile and important time in someone's life when, let's say, they experience a house fire. They come to you probably pretty distraught. Hey, we just had this fire. You might have seen it on the news, whatever. Or we had this flood or this. It's a sensitive time. How do you approach clients in that time that's so challenging and walk them through the process, help them, serve them?
The claim process is a difficult one. We don't want to get super involved with the adjuster side to the customer side, because it gets convoluted and it takes more time. I feel
What's
like
an
when we do
adjuster?
that.
Some people might not know what that is.
So the adjuster is going to be the person that they're talking to in the event of the claim. So home burns down, they get assigned an adjuster. He's going to come out, he's going to do the inspection, he's going to work with your contractors, he's going to work with you, he's going to just get everything in line to see what they're going to offer, what they're going to do, all of that kind of stuff. Now, obviously there's always issues between the two. Like, going back to, again, they're a business. They're trying to keep their bottom line in the black. And so we definitely go to bat for our clients when they don't agree. And so we take a look, we see what we can do. We have, there's plenty of instances where we've been able to go back and kind of look through the wording, find them a little bit more coverage, just kind of different things that you can be aware of just dealing with so many claims all the time. And so that is mainly what we offer on the claim side, is just that expertise of the behind the scenes. If you're unhappy, you're not getting calls back, you're not doing, the process isn't going well, we're right there.
Cool.
That's cool. I'm curious about a lot of clients of ours are looking into investment properties, like want to buy something, turn it into an Airbnb, short-term rental, whatever. For those kinds of properties, do you advise them to get different coverage than they would on their primary residence?
So it's a dwelling fire. It's called a DP3, but you do need to notify your agent or company that you are doing it, because there's exclusions and there's companies that just won't do it. And so you don't want to don't try to sneak it. Don't try to just play under the water and go, oh, well, Airbnb has my insurance coverage. They don't. They have your liability and some of the damage, but it's not much. It's limited, and you're not getting loss of use. You're not getting, I mean, there's a lot of different coverages that are affected. And so pay the extra little premium, find the carrier that does it right, and do it that way, because it's not a big deal. It's not going to change anything. I mean, we write them all the time, obviously, in this area.
Yeah.
There's carriers that'll do it. There's carriers that won't.
Cool.
And so,
Dude, good stuff.
That's
man.
good. Here
Man,
we go.
Thank you so much for being on. But
We
want
got
to close with some cool, awesome, fantastic.
Get to know Tyler.
Getting to know
oh
Tyler.
boy.
Here we go. It's going to
Hey,
get weird.
so yeah, let's get weird up in here. So you're, and we want to know why. Why is you this question, and how do words come out of my mouth? What?
Did you just have a stroke?
What is, not why is, what is your favorite book, movie, or TV show, and why?
Oh boy. That's a tough one. I'm going to go with Boardwalk Empire.
Ooh. Okay.
I think that's my favorite TV show. Lots of good books, lots of good movies, but there's one TV show that just sticks out. So
Yeah.
Boardwalk Empire is definitely mine. I'd love to have been in that time.
Part of that's
that
about
era.
your life. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The Empire
Little
part.
bit.
Empire.
But yeah, it's love that era. Love just everything about it.
Was that the 20s, 30s, or what? What?
Yeah, like Prohibition.
Prohibition.
Prohibition era. Okay.
Taking
yeah,
people
yeah.
out at the knees.
Era. Yep.
It's good stuff.
They dressed great.
Yeah.
Different.
Lots of style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Most influential person in your life.
Got to be my parents.
Yeah.
Different, both of them different ways. So I can't say just one. But yeah, definitely my parents. Can't even give you one reason.
They're just everywhere.
Just, yeah, I mean, they've been there for everything. They've, I mean, there's not really anything that, I mean, it's just been, I can't even think of anybody else.
We'll accept it.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
so
accept
good.
it.
Okay, this is one of our favorite. What would be your ideal day on the Central Coast? And we love hearing about food choices.
Oh man. Sally Lou's in the morning,
Yep.
and then back to the beach for a little bit. And then I would probably head to the mountains and see if I can go beach to mountains.
Beach to mountains.
Yep.
Come on, buddy.
And then what do you do in the mountains? Is like snowboarding, skiing, or just like being there?
Yeah. Backpack hike.
Where do you go?
Something. I like to go to Shaver, or I mean, I'll go to Big Sur or wherever, but Shaver's my
He's the
jam.
first person that took us out of the Central Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Started here
I mean,
and
it's
ended up
only
at Shaver.
2 hours, 2.5
Come on.
hours.
I know.
It's the best part about being here.
Yeah.
That's a good day. It's solid.
Well, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
I mean, typically like everybody else, we're on Instagram, Facebook. You can Google search. I mean, we're there. I'm there all day long.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, any questions, my team's ready to help with anything you need. And I mean, there's a lot of people that call in just for questions, and we're happy to do it. It's definitely something that we get a lot of, is just people going, man, I've never really understood or knew, and you guys do a great job at that. And
Cool.
That's our goal.
Education. Come
Yep.
on. Man, what a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tyler. You're awesome.
Of course.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.